Well, hello everyone. How's everybody doing? Let me see if I can get up the chat, make this much more fun and interesting. Ooh, I am. Ooh, what a day, what a week, what a month. We are update on Sherry. We went and saw we had our first transplant visit today. They are going to be doing another surgery. Woo, sounds like fun. But they're going to be cutting open, and it's going to be like having a liver transplant all over again. So, any energy, love, connection, send, please. I know that's going to be tough for her because they said it's going to be about a 3 month healing time. So, we'll see how that goes. But that's what's happening over here. We are, yesterday I think it was a breakdown for both of us because she just can't keep doing these ERCPs every 3 to 4 months. They're just a lot, You would think, we wanted to keep her alive, get the transplant, but everything that we've experienced since then has just been an uphill battle. So getting her into that space where we just can be connected and do what we were meant to do, it's still been a challenge. But welcome to retrograde. That's kind of like the way the universe works. So I wanted to come on and we've been talking. I've had a few people say, "Hey, how do you both handle retrograde?" And for us, we believe that retrograde is an upgrade. We believe that during this time we can actually see things that we normally can't see through everyday life. So let's just kind of take this when it comes to, twin flames or just in connection. Hi, how are you? I believe that is Rosie. Good to see you, Rosie. I'm going to try to get my chat up so I can see what I'm seeing. We usually experience it early on. I think when we were experiencing that, it was a knockdown, drag out war. And then we realized that there was probably more to it and we just weren't capturing it. So we really kind of talked about it. Hey, everyone. And the thing about retrograde is it really digs into some feelings that you don't otherwise really pay attention to. So it's kind of like that time where you actually get to see what you've been abandoning, see what you've been hiding, see what you've been rejecting when it comes to your feelings, because you don't have much of a choice but to let them out and actually experience them. I guess you need to ask yourself a different question about what retrograde is to you. If you're going through retrograde and you're not staying connected to yourself and loving yourself through it and allowing everybody else to love you through it, that could be where you need to look, because it's really tough to let other people in when you're hurting. It's really tough to let people in when you're in pain. So we kind of make it a point to do that. So hi everyone. Hi Defined Spirit. Hi Rosie. Defined. I'm hoping that you can just kind of monitor this just in case I lose and I'm not paying attention. And draw my attention to it. I guess there's a way you can actually invite people in on your YouTube live now too. That's kind of cool. Hi Lee. And this is from Samara, I believe. Hi, Smart. Hi, Lee. When you and Sherry were separated, did you ever dream of her family members, ones that were alive and ones that have passed over? If you haven't watched our journey yet, I would recommend you do so. Sherry's father passed in 1995. He started showing up in my dreams in 1997 when I was nowhere near being awake. But it was this man who was driving me in a old 67 Nova with no brakes, and we kept crashing and dying in the dreams anytime he would show up. And he was always laughing at me and always just saying, "Hey," and every time I tried to reach for the wheel, he'd smack my hand and we would explode somehow. So yeah, I would say that we did have that, and it got much more. Wasn't aware that was her father until 2007, so we're talking 10-year difference. I didn't know who this person was until she showed me a picture of who her father was. Then I went, and then she went, "What?" And I said, "That man is the man I'm talking about with the ball cap." She goes, "What kind of ball cap?" And I explained the ball cap, and she goes, "Oh, you're talking about my dad." And I was like, "I'm talking about your who?" And so she sent me a picture of him, and I went, holy crap. And that's the interesting thing about connection. The funny thing is, if you follow the path of connection, you'll find out why you're experiencing all of the family members, why you're experiencing all of the people that the person you're connected to is connected to. It's part of the connection, but it's also a part of what you need to learn about the connection. Because just like you can feel the connection to their family, they can feel yours. And whatever rules you have set up to your family members are the rules your twin puts on you. Isn't that beautiful? So if you have like family members you cut off, like a father or a mother you don't talk to, don't worry, your twin's gonna do that to you again and again and again until you get it. Because you don't know what the other side of the street is. In other words, how do you think that made them feel will be what you need to feel in your connection to your twin? Does that make sense? Huh. I guess if it makes too much sense, then you're getting connected. So, yes, I would say we did experience that quite a bit. She dreamed of my mom after my mom's passing. She had a lot of dreams where my mom was showing her things. She had a lot of dreams about. She actually got to sit with my grandmother, both of my grandmothers, on my dad's side and on my mom's side. And these were people that I barely had or could recall. The one I was closest to was my dad's grandma, but I'm the third, so I kind of carry something behind that. And then anybody else who's passed over, Sherry and my uncle Bill on my mom's side were really, really connected because they were born on the same day. And this was my uncle Lewis, he's like 6'8", big tall man, but was very Gemini-ish. And I always got along with him. I mean, we always clicked. And it was kind of like the same energy I started to feel from Sherry, but I didn't realize that's how I was easily bonding to a Gemini. But come to find out, my mom's best friend was her twin brother, because my mom's Sagittarius, and her kind of closer brother would have been the Gemini. So it was kind of like already inbred in me because of being in my mom's body and him being there throughout her entire pregnancy and him being there throughout my actual birth and him being one of the first people to actually hold me. I was kind of already bonded to a Gemini without even understanding it. So I guess what you're looking for in that answer is yes, there are dreams, there are feelings, but there is a generational charge that is causing this. So if you're not looking back at what you're doing to family members, when you're looking at them and their family members, it's telling you the rules of connection in their family. And when it comes to your family, they're getting that information too. Of course, why wouldn't connection do that? Because we are talking connection. And again, if you aren't following connection and you're paying so much attention to the person you're connected to, how are you connected to you? That's what they're going to learn. So hopefully that answered your questions, Mark. Oh, hi, Charlotte. Yes, it makes perfect sense. Connection is awesome. Well, Charlotte, you can probably tell everybody connection is painfully awesome. That's the thing. What are you doing when you're in pain? How are you connecting to people and letting people connect to you? Retrograde will show you what you do to your pain, whether you accept it or not. So I thought I'd come on here, give you guys the update about what's going on with Sherry, kind of give you some retrograde upgrade advice if you need it, connection advice if you need it, what you're experiencing in your connection, how I can be here for that. I've been really seeing, if you haven't done 30 minutes with me, I would encourage you to do so. If you haven't done root camp, I would encourage you to do so. I'm still seeing that same algorithm and it's still not being disrupted in any way. And what I'm talking about is in connection, you will be drawn to people who keep you separated. You won't be drawn to people who will be focused on your connection. And what I mean by that is they're going to tell you everything about why you should just completely give up, why you should completely walk away, why you shouldn't be with this person. And they're going to call that person names. They're going to help you do that. But maybe you should ask yourself a different question if that's what you keep finding. If you're drawn to people that do that, if you're drawn to hear about narcissism, if you're drawn to hear about people who are, somebody you're connected to who's causing you pain, if you're drawn to that kind of energy, you might want to start looking at the parent that taught you and pretty much bred you and raised you to be against someone you're connected to. That is vital because that particular wound is, I would say, I've seen the primary cause of disconnect and separation. Doing this long enough and connecting the dots long enough, you start to realize there seems to be a pattern, especially when it comes to your needs. Have you noticed that most of us that find this connection were never taught that our needs mattered? We're never taught how to express our needs, never taught how to really express our feeling of need because we were always told who to be. And it's almost like we're looking for somebody in this connection to tell us who to be, but we're not finding anybody to tell us or ask us what we actually need. Your needs matter. I'm gonna say it again. Stop being who you think everybody wants you to be and start being who you feel you were meant to be. That's what this connection is trying to break you of. But I guess when you're in retrograde, you experience that more time than any other time. So hopefully that's something you're experiencing if you stumbled onto this live or you stumbled onto this video after it's been recorded. And if so, I'm here to help. That's what I want to do. I believe that's what our purpose was. I believe we were put here to be healing connectors. That doesn't mean we're going to sit and argue with you staying in your head. We are going to argue for your pain. We are going to stay connected to that pain because you're not used to that. Have you ever had somebody who sat with your pain and accepted your pain and didn't try to tell you why you have that pain, but wanted to just sit in the pain with you? Wouldn't that be love and connection? I guess you have to ask yourself that question, but you can hear your answers already inside if you heard the questions right. So, hey, Divine Spirit, this retrograde is allowing me to see things clearly, and how I'm showing up to my twin, me, reflection in the mirror is obvious. Oh, that's wonderful. Denise, hey, Denise, how you doing? Showing patterns of behavior for me. What are you accepting about those patterns, Denise? Let's see, Rosie. As the masculine, why did they look for another connection from the outside when things were okay between us? Well, Rosie, how deep do you want me to go with this answer? Because I can go pretty deep with it and kind of connect the dots for you. Rosie, masculine energy, when we come into this world, we're born under a feminine energy that pretty much lets us get away with everything and still loves us through it. We start to feel guilty about the way that we are, not because of the person that we're directly connected from, but the person we end up being directly connected to. The person we're connected from, our mother, didn't really make us feel bad for things that we did. If we were jumping from girl to girl to girl, they said nothing. The reason we jumped from girl to girl to girl, because each girl to girl to girl never gave us everything we needed from that one. So when we come into this connection, we look to have that connection with another person because the person we're connected to doesn't accept us. So Rosie, maybe the question is not so much why do they do that? Why does masculine energy do that? What is it in you that doesn't accept that masculine energy does that? Because I tell you what, I had a very, it looks, from what I'm understanding, I have a very rare twin. Sherry didn't run from me because I was seeing all these different people. Sherry didn't say to me she didn't accept me. Sherry didn't make me feel like a sack of shit for the things I was doing. My mom did, Sherry didn't. So it was kind of reversed for me, but that might have been on purpose to wake me up to some things. My masculine energy, what I was taught about being masculine, was go from one woman to the next. Now, if you look at the line between me and my father, there was an absence of growth. So from 6 years old to 14 years old, there wasn't a man in the house other than my brother who was in school with me who showed me what it was like to love a woman, be there for a woman. All I saw was a man who was sending money home and talking to him occasionally. Sometimes he'd call on birthdays, sometimes he would call on Christmas, sometimes he would show up on Thanksgiving. I mean, it was very sporadic and he wasn't there. So what did that teach me about growing up to be a man? It taught me to be, yeah, all of those things. My father didn't know that's what I was going through. When I went to live with him at 14, he realized I was way out there because there wasn't that influence, there wasn't that connection. See, I didn't know how to be a man who actually expressed his feelings because what are men taught about their feelings? What are women taught about their feelings? The way that men are raised, and at least during my timeline when I was raised, men were taught to say that women were very sensitive and, you just kind of have to make the wife happy or make the woman happy and really just kind of shove your own feelings down. If you're raised into that space, you really never know how to share happiness or experience happiness or even receive love because you're not a partnership. You're kind of a servant. And what happens is most men end up being used by the poor master. And we forget about how it could be the beautiful slave. So what happened in a lot of ways when you look at masculine energy is you have to look at who you're connected to and look at all the things that you don't accept about them. Then go and take that person you're connected to and lay that right on top of what your masculine energy that you were raised by looks like. You might start to see similarities. And when you start to see similarities, look for the pain that came from both that matches the frequency of what you're feeling. Because what ends up happening there is if your own father, your masculine energy of your life, didn't show up in that space, you will have to fit your twin in that space. And trust me, they're not going to show up and they're going to give you exactly what you've already had. The problem is they've become you and you've become your father because your father missed having a child. Your father missed having a connection to you because of what you feel a man represents, not the other way around. So what you're experiencing is they kind of take on your persona and you kind of take on your father's persona. So when you're looking for masculine energy, you're in it. You just don't see it yet. There are ways to go deeper into that because I'm not going deep here. I'm just keeping it simple. Retrograde will show you not only your masculine design and your feminine design because we carry both. I stand in the middle of both, so I know when to oscillate between both because both carry a very strong pain frequency and vibration. And I can usually see the shape of your thinking based on sitting in your pain. It's a very unusual gift, I suppose. But I would tell you this, it is amazing when you watch somebody heal from it. It really is quite amazing. So let me catch up here. So as the masculine, okay, so Rosie, hopefully you caught what I was saying there. I have to show up for myself. Each lunch every day is a big one. I'm taking time for a soaking bath to recharge, taking nature walks. I got to show up for me first. Denise, I have a question about showing up for you first. That's what I've been shown to work on. Denise, when you say show up for you first, who else is allowed to be first with you? First can be a very lonely place and can be a very isolating place because sometimes first puts us in a space where we feel like nobody else wants to be a part of that with us. So I would ask you, Denise, how do you let anybody be first with you? Have you really sat down and let yourself feel what that would feel like? And if you feel some pain or some resistance in that space, look at what's causing the resistance. Is it living your whole life telling yourself you were never first? And is there a you on the inside that is giving you pushback of you now putting her first, but you're not putting her first with somebody or putting her first with somebody else being present for that. Because that will sabotage you at some point in connection. I hope that makes sense, Denise, but I really feel that first sometimes can be the illusion of a judgment you pushing yourself into that you don't really need to have. Rosie said, sure. Kelsey, this has been helpful. Hi, Kelsey, how you doing? Um, Colorful foresight question. In 2023, why do you feel to do this work on Twin Flame? How do you feel TF's union will support the collective humanity going forward? Um, I guess colorful insight. We've been feeling to do this work since 2011, since November 11, 2011. And we started writing, and I believe it's just gotten stronger because the pain threshold has gotten stronger. I would say now more people are in pain because we haven't been able to expand the work the way we wanted to. There's been some delays, but I believe we've gone through greater pains for that specific reason because there's a lot of loss in connection. I don't think we realized how much loss was happening. So when we started doing what we do and connecting people and really paying attention to their pain and then realizing that they didn't, it's like you have to ask yourself this question: can you have connection without pain? Look at all of humanity and look at what they've been taught to do with pain. Without the bridge, without the connection to pain, how do you have connection without it? How do you have connection if you refuse to go into your pain? How do you let yourself experience connection if your pain is not included? Pain is a very beautiful awakener and a brilliant teacher. And I would tell you, if it weren't for pain, I don't think Sherry and I would be together. I believe our connection's truth was found inside of pain, not away from it. So sitting in that pain and finding the truth is very important. I mean, who are you going to let love you without that truth? Who are you going to let connect to you without it? So do I believe it's a thing for collective humanity? I believe it's a universal thing that should have been here in the first place. I don't think we would all be as far apart without them. I don't know that there's a bridge that says enter your pain here and find connection. But we're hoping to build one. We really are. And I think that's why we keep being put through all the challenges we go through, all the disconnects we go through, and the experience of what it feels like. We've had that kind of pain that shuts us down towards each other, but we've had that kind of pain that when we did find each other, we realized the silence in the pain was just as important as the voice in it. I mean, do you know what it's like to be connected to somebody and be in that pain and let them be there with you? Do you know what that does for your connection? Do you understand the wisdom that can come from it? Maybe humanity is ready for it. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But I know I'm not giving up until I stop breathing. So I hope that answered your question, Colorful Foresight. Hi, Alice. Hey, Lee. My twin is in a psych hospital. He's had episodes with me on the phone. He jumps from absolutely adoring me and then blocks me for days. I feel called to just send him love through his dark space. I feel like his soul is being drawn to the dark. Do you feel it's a good idea to send him pure love consciously through this? I feel his ego thinks he doesn't need it, but his soul. Alice, when you look up at the sun, do you believe that it's surrounded by darkness? And the reason I'm asking you this is, do you believe that that darkness that surrounds the sun powers the light that we receive here on Earth? Whether we experience daytime or nighttime, it's still surrounded by darkness, and it's still powering this light that's very, very powerful. It gives warmth. It gives us light. But the beautiful thing about it is we don't know what's written in that darkness either. But we know we love the sun. So I guess what I'm pointing to is, are you looking at it from those eyes? Or are you looking at it through the eyes of judgment, believing that the sun is only going to shine on one spot when it's that bright? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And whatever's written in that darkness isn't stopping the sun. Maybe you just need to keep loving him in both spaces so he can find that he can stand in the light no matter what his darkness is saying. If you're not accepting that, he'll block you. And maybe the things that he may be reflecting back to you are things that are in your darkness. That the beautiful thing about connection is you have yin and yang, right? Know that you need both. You need both the darkness and the light. It's like people saying, I need to find my higher self, with little to no regard of lower self. What ends up happening is they get half a connection and they get half a separation, which ultimately is permanent separation. You have to find both. I guess the question you have to ask yourself, which retrograde is beautiful for? What are you judging and why? And what do you need to do that for? When you were born into this world, did you judge anything? Probably not. You loved breathing. It hurt at first, but when you got used to it, you kind of fell in love with it. When you finally had water, or you finally ate, or you finally experienced somebody holding you, you probably loved it. It's our judgment that we're taught. It's our judgment that we think. It's our judgment. How much judgment actually keeps you connected? You ever asked yourself that? If not, don't forget to subscribe and like if you're watching this. We really appreciate it because we got a lot more to talk about. Hi, Lee. Hi, Starseed. Can you talk about value when in terms of this connection? Yes, connection doesn't give a shit about value. Your judgment gives a shit about value. And if you're in value, can you have connection? Here's how it would work. Have you ever known somebody who has a lot of self-worth and seen them actually get loved by anyone? Or do you see them get judged, whether it's good or bad? And do you believe that judgment can love something? Or do you believe that love can judge anything? I guess you have to ask yourself, does love and judgment mix? Value, what do you need it for? Let me ask you something. All of us here that are watching this live, all are going to go take a shit at some point. How many of you go, oh, well, that's called judgment. Don't do that. We're human. We are on this planet. We breathe. We can interact with each other. We can connect. But we connect more beautifully through pain. We judge our own pain, which makes us judge others' pain, hurt, suffering. We don't get close to people who suffer. Do you see how many people actually take their lives based on that? Do you see how many people don't let anybody get close to them or love them based on that? Do you believe that your love is so great and your hurt is so bad that you won't let anybody love you? You'll love somebody, but when it comes to letting them love you, if you don't like your pain, do you think you let that happen? How much value do you put in that? Value is, again, a really pretty word for how you're going to judge something. I don't think you need it. When we first started this, I was really infected with some judgment. Judgment of how I speak, how I look, what color my skin is, all the things that had really wounded me as a child, only to realize that none of that mattered. What you needed to feel was more important. And why I still do this is your feelings are what I'm speaking to, not your thinking. Believe me, the last thing I want to do is get wrapped up in your mind. But if I can ask you a question which makes you start asking yourself deeper questions, that's why I'm here. Who do you let really love you without value or with value? If you notice, with value seems to not let anybody love you. Because then you're measuring and judging and trying to figure out whether they value who you are as a person. The only way a person actually experiences that is how connected you are to yourself. If you're not connected to yourself and you're putting on a mask trying to be something for somebody else, you'll be seeking value, not connection. I hope that answered the question. I don't know if it did. I guess the person who would ask would be Defined Spirit. I'm sure she's there somewhere. Defined Spirit, did that answer their question? Uh, you're welcome, Rosie. Also, Sherry, let's see, Starseed. Also, how did Sherry show up acceptance of what you were doing in terms of other women? Well, one thing Sherry didn't do is she stood there and waited for me to tell the truth. See, that's the thing. Did you ever grow up in a household where you didn't have to tell the truth to people that you love? You didn't have to tell the truth to your mom or your dad, or you were able to bend the truth, or you were able to omit parts of the truth? Did you grow up like that? Did you ever have the experience where if you didn't tell the truth, you still felt like they loved you? Do you know what I'm saying? Um, Sherry didn't. She did that, but she did it differently. Um, what she did is go, uh, why don't you tell me the truth? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? That was the simple way out of that. And I kept avoiding it, avoiding it, avoiding it until I realized, wait a minute, there's a feeling associated behind this because every time I say that, I feel bad. And then I started saying, how come when you ask me something like that, I feel something? And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I feel like, I don't know what it is. It's like you're looking for a way not to love me. You're looking for a way not to feel anything about me. And she said, no, it's not that at all, actually. I was like, well, what is it? She said, well, for me, inside, I hear myself saying, am I good enough for your truth? So I kind of just sit here to see if I am. And when you won't tell it to me, I get to tell myself that I'm not worthy of the truth. And I went, ooh. And that kind of hit me. Because if you think about it, do we actually know what the actual truth is? Have we ever been taught to tell the actual truth? And and she said, I'm sure that you're talking to them. I'm sure you're seeing other people. And you know what? I really don't care if that's what you're doing. I just want to know why you don't tell me. And something in me said, yeah, why don't you tell her? And I sat with it and I asked myself a question. I said, do I not tell her because... And then I couldn't think of a real good reason why I didn't tell her. So then I finally just said, oh, well, I don't want you to feel that way. So what truth are you looking for? She goes, why, who are you seeing? I said, I see a couple of people. But what had hit me then was, why was I avoiding it? Why was I keeping it out there? Because literally growing up, I don't remember any time that I actually told the truth to people I was connected to. And the only reason I lied to them was because I would get their attention. So it was kind of feeding that, not realizing that's what it was doing. So when I actually started stating the truth, um, I would feel pain. But at first I thought, I'm in pain because I'm hurting her. But what I realized is once I started telling the truth, I was in pain because it was making me realize what I was doing. Um, and when you finally sit with your truth and you start to feel the actual pain of it, number one, I was talking about how we avoid our pain. We aren't taught to sit in our pain. We don't sit in our pain long enough to actually find the truth. That started happening to me. And it made me start talking different. So if you go back and watch earlier videos, I probably sound like I do now, but pain has come a long way because we put that into the universe. We wanted to put the truth inside of the pain. It's okay to not feel good enough. It's not okay to hide that. Then find the story of why you tell yourself you're not good enough. Like if you go back as far as you can and you can remember the first time you felt this feeling and the feeling came up and you had to sit there and think about what you were feeling, and it came with, I'm not good enough. And then you gravitated to that every time that pain arose. What would happen if you sat in that pain again? Would you say the same thing? Would you actually put connection inside of whatever that pain is to realize that it's not about being good enough? It's about letting somebody connect to your truth. Look, I'm not saying pain is easy. I'm just saying the way you've labeled your pain is not making it easy. I mean, do you believe you can have connection without that pain that you're labeling? And the ways that you've labeled that pain, who's abandoning it and rejecting it and betraying it? Them or you? It's not about value. It never will be. So, hopefully that answered your question, Starseed. Denise, well, we had plans to go check out a campsite because I'm going camping for my birthday, May 15th. Oh, Taurus. Yeah, my son's the 2nd and her daughter is the 10th. So that's awesome. Happy birthday, Denise. And I did invite him to go because it's the people that I connect and love going. He didn't show up. So, Denise, when you invited him to go camping, when you said, it's all the people that I connect and love going. Out of all the people, when you invited all of these people to go camping with you, how many masculine and how many feminine? And I guess, is he in the masculine or the feminine? That'd probably be where I would follow that too. Let's see, colorful foresight, deep. Yes, I'm colorful foresight. Would you ever let somebody love you without your depth? Hi, Mariah, how are you? Claudia, haven't seen you in a while. Lee, I literally shared my pain with my boss today. I felt so vulnerable and wished I could hold back the tears, but they were there. Did you get embraced? Oh, he asked me if I wanted to. Oh, Maria, I'm so proud of you. That's huge. See, you were always expecting to be rejected, but you think about it. You looked up to a person of, well, you probably looked at your boss like a father and then kind of just didn't know that if you were vulnerable with there, if you would actually be able to heal this particular wound, and I'm glad you did. Go, Maria. You get 25,000 stars. Great job. Sorry, Denise, didn't mean to skip you there. Let's see, Denise. So I'm looking for the lesson and what I can learn from it. Denise, the lesson and what, Denise, do you learn from feeling or thinking? Summer, hi, good evening. Hi, Summer, how are you? Denise, we often have to sit within and find what the lesson is and how you're showing up to. Rachel, thank you. Well, what are you thanking me for? Well, thank you, Rachel. Thank you for being here. Divine Spirit, yes. Okay, Miss Grace. Hi, Miss Grace. Thanks for being here. Love you guys. Oh, we love you too. Starseed, flames. Oh, I love those little flames. Those are so cool. Maria, thanks, Papa Lee. Oh, you're welcome. My beautiful daughter. I don't know if I'm the best, but I know that I'm connected. Let's see, Charlotte, your message is so valuable. I feel so much truth in it. Charlotte, how deep do you have to go to find the truth? Are we missing that, do you think? Do you feel like we sit in enough pain when we're by ourselves that we can actually find this actual truth I'm talking about? You know, it's kind of like what Maria just shared with us here. She's saying she literally needed to go into her vulnerability to see if somebody would connect to her, and they did. Somebody she probably didn't even think would do that. And that's what pain that's how it connects us. You don't find your vulnerability without your pain. You find it by going into it. And all the times that you stopped yourself from crying, all the times you kept yourself from letting anybody know how you felt, all the times you put on that mask, there was a you on the inside you disconnected from to do that. And when your twin comes around and they do the same thing to you, don't get mad at them for what you've been doing to yourself. That's the false in you. Find the truth. Why are you doing that to you? Why aren't your feelings important? Why can't you have the connection you were meant for? You won't have the connection you're meant for without your pain, will you? Hmm. What do you guys love about retrograde? I'll tell you what, I am so thankful for it. I'm thankful for my pain. I'm thankful for what I found by going into my pain. I'm thankful for the connection it connected me to and the love that came after that happened. Because I don't think you find true love without your pain, you find it with it. And I get it. It's really scary to just let yourself feel it all. But if you don't let yourself feel it all, who will ever be allowed to love all of you? You were born through a threshold of pain, all in one. Going back to that pain puts you back in all in one. What do you think connection is made of? It's made of pain. Unfortunately, that's the truth. And if you don't see it, feel free to do a 30-minute. Let's go do a root camp. Let's get to healing. But let's get connected. We need more. I know it's not the fault in our stars. It's the fault in our thinking. Oh, hi, Fairy. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Starseed, thank you so much. Well, you're welcome. Inner Journeys Ascending. Now, hi, Lee. Just got on. Good to see you. Well, it's good to see you. Since you have been married to your twin flame for a while, is your magnetic energies as strong as when you met? Well, you know what's beautiful about that inner journey is it depends on which way the magnet is flipped. I believe both have a very strong polarity because you have the push and the pull. And when you're real time with each other every day, every night, and you're never apart, at least not even out of the same house in that kind of energy, it's really interesting because people who come into our house, you'll have people who can come in and not stay very long, and you'll have people who want to come in and not leave because they sit in that energy of connection and they start to heal things. Then you have people who aren't ready for that and they bolt off. It's kind of the same thing we experience with each other, but it's really quite beautiful because if we've healed those certain aspects, when they come in, they start asking questions. With us, I think we're more in the feeling part than the actual communication piece. And the body is healing for both of us, right? I mean, there's one body united between both of us. My immune system is still being shared, so it's with its own power, with its own. It's not a measurement. It's a yin and yang kind of thing. And yin and yang doesn't always have balance, but it does. What gets thrown out of balance finds it. So I would say that it's universal. I believe that's the best word for it. She's my Holy Spirit and my God and my man at the same time. Yeah, I have this thing about calling women Holy Spirit. I don't know what my problem is, but I'll get over it at some point. But it's almost like I found a way to be in the wisdom of it all, to stay connected. Um, what she says to me verbally has a translation of what she says to me in her feelings. That's much more clear than it's ever been. There's a lot more clarity, but there's greater pains that we still find, which I think keep bringing us back together in a deeper way. One that we don't even really know how to communicate from until it's time. But I usually have to tone myself back, pull myself all the way back, focus for a little bit, then come on and do this live. It's not like I could actually speak the way that we speak because it just doesn't work that way, I suppose. But, I found a way to be alien and human at the same time. But I think I got that from when she was sick. It's still very strong in me. And I believe it's growing in her. If you've been watching her Ask Sherry, you'd probably see that as well. She's still Sherry. All right. Let's see here. Hopefully that answered your question and a journey. Just Bridget. Hi, Just Bridget. How are you? It gives me the opportunity to say no to what I don't deserve and no longer want to accept. Bridget, have you ever deserved connection? And if so, what actions did you have that supported it? Hopefully, that's something that sinks in. Deserve and connection don't mix, because connection doesn't know what deserve means any more than what deserve knows what connection means. If you're in the deserve, you're kind of locked up inside, and there's a reason for that. Um, Bridget, I guess the question is, why did you have to silence your no to find your no and be very strong in it? Something must have happened to your no and the girl who was carrying it. How are you staying connected to her and healing her through that no and letting her know she can have connection and have a yes and a no? How does she have both? No is a block, and it will get you blocked over and over and over again. What is the no when it comes to how you feel? What is that feeling that you have to put the no on? Are you doing that to you, or are you doing it to someone else? Do you deserve to do that to you? I wonder. Deserve is such a dangerous thing. We grow up needing something, and I believe a lot of our needs, when they don't come out, we find deserve to make sense of it. But we never learn how to use deserve or actually get rid of it so we can have our needs again. So Bridget, who's there for what you need? Not what you deserve, but what you need. They're two different things. Alice, what do you think about setting boundaries with Twin? He said he respects me, but shows otherwise. I want to connect, but I fear him blocking me and leaving me out in the cold again. So, Alice, I want to connect, but I don't want to connect. I fear him, and then blocking you. So you see that your fear isn't blocking him. You see that you're saying you don't want to connect, but you're not being very truthful about it. If you said this statement and didn't use a but, it would sound like, I don't want to connect. I fear. And he's saying, do you want to be connected to fear? Or do you want to be connected to me? Which one do you think you value more? And you can see how that value and how all the judgment shows up and says, yes, attached to me. You and fear have been best friends for so long. Do you know how to break up with fear? Do you believe fear can be your twin flame? Do you believe fear can be connected to you? Do you believe fear knows what connection is? Fear is a really good story about what the future is based on what you haven't healed in the past. And you know all that pain that is in your past that's still telling you, hey, I'm still here and it's probably going to happen again because you didn't do anything with me. How are you healing her? How are you connecting to the girl inside of the fear and saying, you know what? The way that you experienced pain before is not the way you're going to experience pain now because I'm going to stay connected to you. But if you put everything in the past, and you disconnected and disassociated and said, that won't happen again. I heard this funny thing the other day, and I've heard it. I think we've all heard this. Those who don't know their past are doomed to repeat it. Is bullshit. Those who learn their past repeat it. It's not a doom thing. It's that we take this learning, we go to school, we learn what happened in the past. We end up finding out that there was a sad outcome at the end, and we learn that, and we walk around knowing history. So what does it do? It makes us pay attention to the tragedy in our lives and repeating it. And we don't see the point. The point is this. Those people that you learned about what happened in their past aren't the same people who were in your life when you got hurt. When you got hurt, who was allowed to connect to you? That's the moral of the story. If you look at any story you hear about how somebody got hurt, when they tell you about how somebody hurt them, ask them, who did you let connect to you? See what they say. You're going to find that they'll either look at you then and go, well, are you connected to me? Maybe now. Sometimes they go, nobody. And they don't even think about it after that. So what they've told you is, I know how to isolate myself, block myself off, and create a boundary, and then tell myself I'm protecting it. You're protecting a hurt that you're already carrying is going to attract more hurt, isn't it? Isn't that what actually makes sense? And if that makes sense, you can make change. Shh, don't tell Sherry I said it. Don't you do it. You get me in trouble. I'm told I'm not supposed to slide those in anymore. So I guess values and boundaries, I don't see the point of boundaries. I believe boundaries are a way you isolate yourself and tell yourself that it's okay because what you're saying is they're going to use and hurt me. The problem is you're behind a wall now using and hurting yourself. What's the point? How do you tell them about your hurt? How do you let them sit there in your hurt? People, where were you learned? Where did you learn that boundaries actually got you loved? Where did you learn that protecting yourself actually got you loved? If you notice, what I'm asking you is something you didn't get because nobody does that. What it does is it puts a wall around you, and then you say, connect to me. And they're like, huh? And then they're like, I'm blocking you. And you're like, they blocked me. And it's like, but what were you doing? Well, I had to set up boundaries and protection. I'm like, isn't that blocking? And they're like, well, that's not the point. Yes, it is. That's the point. It's like, what are you trying to tell yourself you did? When has a boundary ever gotten you connected to or loved? When has protection ever gotten you connected and loved? Are you really telling yourself the truth about that? Here, let's just pretend we're all in kindergarten and we're sitting there and we're listening to the teacher, and the teacher says, okay, today we're going to learn how to protect yourself. And she says, okay, we have these blocks, and everybody in the class is going to build these blocks, and we're going to put somebody on the other side of it. And when they're on the other side of it, when they start screaming for help, who's going to hear them? Who's going to be able to get to them? Who's going to be able to connect to them? Right. So we're just looking at it from an elementary viewpoint, but isn't that what protection, boundaries, all that is? It's called blocking. If you're hurting and you think somebody outside of you hurt you, where did you learn to heal that hurt for you? And then include them. If you didn't learn that, then I guess boundaries and protection are important for you. But the problem is it's a really good holding tank for a lot of pain that's going to make you push away a lot of people. That's just my experience because I was a master at it. Maybe you've got a different way. I don't know. If you believe that protection and boundaries do something different, tell me one person that has actually made it closer to you. Hi, Sophia. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for the flowers. Appreciate it. Alice, I told him I need consistency, respect for me and my fam. And it feels so odd saying things like that. Maybe because it's unlike me to set boundaries. I don't know. Alice, I guess, over your life, Alice, and I want you to answer this question, and it's going to be a yes or no question. Over your life, Alice, have you been consistent in being connected to yourself? Yes or no? Don't go into any story. Don't tell me anything different. It's just a yes or no question. Have you been consistent in being connected to yourself and your pain? Let me scroll down and see if Alice has said anything. Hi, Angela. How are you doing? God, I ain't seen you in a minute. Take us to church, girl. Oh, I'm sorry. I always have to do that, don't I? So, Alice, your answer? Okay. So happy to see you too, Sylvia. It's a mixture of masc and femme. Some are couples, some are not. I got 3 sites and invited loved ones. Felt we needed to all connect because life gets busy. So when you say life gets busy, and I get it. So your twin, when you invited him, what if he got busy? Does that still keep the connection there without any fault, without any blame, without any feeling like you were abandoned or rejected? Fairy, my uncle's signature move is ignore all feelings. Picked up his hand to my face to say hi to the kids. I told him that hurts. I was excited to see him. He said, really? I said, yes. And he hugged me tight. Oh, look at you. See, tell me root camp doesn't help. Just tell me. I mean, would you have done that before? Probably not. A great uncle, my mom's uncle. She carries a lot of pain with the way he dismisses and hurts her and always laughs it off. I took the opportunity for me and for her to show us both we could be wrong. That was beautiful. Farrah, you know what? See, you were silent that day, but you spoke and you're proving to yourself that you can have connection. Amazing. Um, so, Alice, you said yes. I feel I've been more consistent than not. Okay. So, Alice, when it comes to being consistent and you're asking for consistency, and let's go back to what you said. I told him I need consistency, respect for me and my fam. Um, Growing up, who in your family gave you that consistency, that respect of the way you needed it? Who in your family gave that to you because you were giving it to yourself? Your answer of yes, and then went into an explanation, says there's more to that. And that's what I pay attention to. And we follow that to the feeling itself. Follow that to the feeling itself and connect to that girl and say, hey, am I consistent with you? And if she looks at you, or if she doesn't answer you, or if you feel something in your heart that feels like it just closed, you might want to go inside of that pain, because the heart's not going to open up with that. And sometimes it may not be as easy as that, but I would tell you, in this connection, the person you're connected to mimics what happens to that heart, whether it's open or closed. And it's really hard to see if you're in your head all the time. Trust me, I was on both sides of that. Let's see. Oh, hi, Palladium Vibes. Big love to you. Angie, hi. Let's see. Yes, I feel, let's see. Divine Spirit. Is it okay to date others while in communication with your twin? Is that considered rejecting the connection? No, it's called learning to be connected to yourself. Divine Spirit, I guess if you ask yourself this, do you have needs and wants that aren't being met in the connection? And are you staying connected to those needs and wants regardless of the connection for yourself? And are you doing something about those needs and wants? If you're not, then you putting all of that pressure, all of that energy, you're gonna push away the connection rather than be in the connection and show that you can be connected to and focus on what you need and want, and you make it your own priority and not somebody else's to be connected to yourself. Have you learned that? Have you been able to stay in that? Kind of like what the word that I believe that who was it? I want to say that Alice was talking about. It's about, have you been consistent with doing that for yourself? Because if you look at what you blame or what you attack or what you feel like you're being rejected in, is that person you're connected to actually doing that to you, or are you doing that to you without them? So they're gonna show you that. So if you seem like you feel like you get a little crazy over things that they do or don't do, that has a lot to do with what you don't do for yourself. That doesn't have anything to do with them, but you learn to do that in your childhood. So you go back to that feeling in your childhood of when you needed or you wanted and you didn't receive. What did you do to yourself? And how did you stay connected to yourself when that happened? I've got time enough for about one more question. I hope this helped you guys. And I hope that you guys keep coming back to the channel. And again, please like and subscribe if you're interested in working with our specials and our payment plans or whatever you need. Relationshipreinvent@gmail.com. I am going to be doing some connection classes. A lot of them are going to be set up around how you find your triggers, but literally more than anything, how to find this other space. I don't want to call it union with yourself because let's face it, union with yourself is kind of an anomaly until you realize you have to have the pain with it. And the pain is really hard to find if you know how to bury it and then escape from it and then kind of act like it's not there, or at least make other people believe that you've got it healed. The thing about pain, if you get triggered when somebody's asking you about your healing, that's not healing. You should be able to literally be open to learning more about yourself when somebody's asking you questions. If you start to resist that and you start to fight it and you start to be combative, that's not called healing. That's called staying disconnected, and that's called staying in your boundaries and your protection mode. That's not gonna get you connection. That's gonna keep you disconnected. So if that's something you want to do, trust me. Um, I haven't done thousands of hours for no reason. I did it because the universe said that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to, well, I am here to fight for your pain, but who's doing that? You need connection. And, I like being that vessel. I mean, I believe that's what my mom bred me for. My mom's maiden name was Dula. And if you don't know what a doula is, look it up. And I believe I carry a very significant piece of her heart in that and the generations that come along with it. But I didn't realize what kind of pain that doula that I've become was supposed to do. So I've really found a way to stay completely connected to pain. And it's beautiful. It's not what you think. When I think I say the word pain, a lot of people feel like their hurts and stuff they've been through and that kind of stuff. But no, there's a threshold of actual pain that when you take a lot of your hurts and put it inside of it, it starts to heal. There's a space there. It's called birthing. I don't know. It has a lot to do with how you came here in nature, but it's a part of the connection. And it's a very deep part of the connection, but it takes somebody who's willing to go that deep to help you find it. If that's what you want to do, let's do it. I do have a session I have to get to. Love you guys. I will let Sherry know. I promise you I will. And thank you guys. I'm sure she'll be here Monday to kind of give you guys the other part of the update. We do have to go to the transplant center tomorrow. She's got to do a lot of pre-op stuff because they're planning on probably the second week in May, they're going to go ahead and reopen the incision, and it'll be just like having a transplant all over again. Meaning, he said to us, I'll have to take the liver off the sidewall, and I'm gonna have to take the small intestines and rewire. I believe somebody actually messaged and asked that, and yes, you're correct. They're going to rewire her bile duct to her small intestines, and that should stop whatever that's been doing happening. But there's some other underlying things that we're still trying to get through. So send prayers, money, donations, whatever. We'll take it. We're just trying to get through and trying to still stay here and do this. And I could use the healing. So if you guys want to come and heal, believe me, that healing doesn't just go to what you put into it. It does show up in her healing. I really was. It was very profound over the last few years, guys. A lot of you came and did root camp. A lot of you came and just healed with your pain, and that pain got us to where she is now. And I don't know how to explain that to you other than pain is connection. And thank you. Thanks. I don't know any other way to say it. But no, it's keeping us here, and it's keeping us focused, and it's keeping us connected. So don't ever doubt that your pain isn't important. Don't doubt that your hurt doesn't matter. Come here. We'll show you it does. And we'll show you there's a you inside of it that really needs connection. You deserve that. That's the only time deserve makes sense. Love you guys. I'll see you soon.